All right, you ever import session data or just an audio file and you have it appear like way too late on your timeline? Today, we're going to talk about why that happens and how to fix it. All right, so this topic for today is actually a thing that I've dealt with for a really long time. It pops up every so often and it's not like a huge time suck, so I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about it. And so the problem that we're talking about today, it tends to happen for me when I import session data. It might also happen when you're importing, for example, like a broadcast wave file or something that also comes with a certain type of metadata that we'll talk about here in a minute. But basically, I'm going to show you the issue. So if I go file, import session data, I'm going to choose a client session that I know has the type of metadata that's going to cause the problem really quick. So I'm just going to grab that. I'm going to select that PTX file, and then I'm going to pick the mixdown file from that session. So it's just a track within that session that has audio on it, and we'll see the audio here when I import it. So I'm going to hit session data here. I'm going to choose the mix print track here, and I'm going to let it import the audio so we can visibly see it. I'm going to hit OK. And you'll notice here it made the track for that track that I imported. So it's way over here. So you'll notice this is a ton of time. This is over an hour of time, right? And right now you'll notice we're looking at time code here. So it's showing me instead of minutes and seconds, it's showing me in actual time code. So it's a little bit different the way it displays depending on how you have it set up. But you'll notice this is at an hour and 10 seconds approximately. And so in the session that this came from, this was not in this position within the session. It was, if I hit return and go to the beginning of the session and then I do T to zoom in, it was kind of like how these files are sitting in the session. It was, there's a couple measures and then the file exists, right? That's how it was living within the session that it came from. So the question is, why is it putting it way over here? And the basic reason is that a lot of files and session data, they come with embedded timecode metadata. And if that timecode metadata is slightly different for the starting point of the session than it is in your current session, that's when this can happen. So it's basically the computer's trying to be honest here. It's looking at the metadata and it's like, hey, these are starting in two different places, so I'm going to adjust accordingly. I'm going to still put this in the position where it says it should be. And people that do post-production are probably super familiar with this concept, right? Because depending on what you're doing, you may have a different starting point for your time code. A lot of times we start time code at different spots depending on what we're working on. So people that do post-production might be super familiar with this, but for a lot of us music people, this can be kind of confusing as to why it happens and when it happens. So it just has to do with embedded timecode metadata. So there are a few things that you can do to deal with this, right? So one is the obvious, right? If you import something and you have existing tracks like I have here, you can just drag it over and then see about lining it up, right? And depending on what you're working with, this may be an adequate solution, but it might not be, if whatever you're importing is not going to be like on the grid, or if you want to get it more precise than this, then you might need to do something different here. But for example, if this session, it's in 120 right now, and if, for example, I knew this was in 120, then I might be able to just drag it over. I would probably want to switch into relative grid first to make sure that, if this had started right here, I'd be fine in relative grid mode, dragging it around, and then I just line it up with the one, right? Or line it up with whatever it lines up with. But yeah, that's just one solution you can do, is just drag it over. That might be the most obvious one, right? So that's one way that you can deal with it. But another way that I tend to run into a little more frequently happens when you're first starting a mix, for example, or you're first starting to work on the file. So let me actually delete this and pretend that we're kind of starting at the beginning of a session. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to hide these guys. So I'm going to click these little dots to hide the tracks. They're still there. I can bring them back if I want. But now I have this session. I just have the master fader. Let's pretend that I'm importing. So let's pretend I'm kind of at the beginning of the process and I'm importing some files or some session data, and this same thing happens. So I'm going to just import the same track again. And here it is. Let me zoom out here. There it is. It's loading up. It'll take a second to load up. And so what I like to do, and for some reason, I just tend to run into this kind of situation a little bit more frequently, and this feels like a better way to do it, is I tend to often import one, or often it's multiple tracks, and it'll be this kind of situation, and I will have nothing here that I want to keep in my session. So we'll pretend that these tracks don't exist at all, right? I have nothing in the session up until this point. So I have a whole hour of time that's just floating, doing nothing, absolutely nothing. And so the way I like to fix it when I run into this is a bit more precise and it feels a bit more exact to me. Let me just option click. You can also alt click if you're on Windows to deselect these two tracks, because it's going to drive me nuts that I have all the tracks visible in my session selected right now. But what you can do if you're sure you don't want anything that's in this time frame is you can kind of zoom in close to the beginning and go, okay, there's nothing before this point that I want. And I'll often make sure I've already set the tempo and that I'm in grid mode and that this is a nice beat location, right? And everything's sitting on the beat properly. I'll do that first. And then I'll be like, okay, so maybe I want 2 measures before the song starts. And then I want my content. And so I'll click here and I'll go shift return. I'll zoom out so I can kind of see everything nicely. Let me kind of switch over and make sure I'm looking at everything. Yep, so that's everything. So now what I'll do is I will cut time. So I'll go event, time operations, cut time. And because I have this selected, it's going to remove the exact amount that I have selected here. It defaults to that highlight that you have. So see how this is 0 and it's ending at 1:06. That's what I have highlighted. So then you hit apply and it'll just remove everything that's in that time frame in the session. You're removing time from the session, completely removing time from the session. So it's now removed everything that's there. If I, for example, let me do undo. There's the time frame, right? If I, for example, have something here, let me show you what it does really quick. Let me zoom out. I'll get that like 2-measure thing going. This is about 2 measures. Let's double check. Bars and beats, 2 measures. Yeah. So let me do that again. Shift return. I'm going to zoom out so I can kind of see everything. And I close this out and then reopen it just so I have the proper highlight here. Let me swap this over to timecode too. So there it is. There's the same highlight, right? If I now click on this, it cuts it. So now that file is gone. That clip that I had that I copied, the duplicate clip that I copied over, it's now gone from my session. So just be careful if you're using this. Just keep that in mind. You can always do a save as before you do it just to be safe. So if you need to go back to right before that point, you still have the old save. That's always a good idea to do a save as if you're about to do something that's destructive, you know? And so if I were going to do that, I'd go file, save session as, I leave it within this session folder and I just rename it with something like after cut time or whatever helps you remember it. I'm going to hit cancel here though. So that's something you can do. And keep in mind, it's kind of interesting how it works. So let's actually bring these tracks back in. They still exist here, right? So I didn't remove them. It didn't cut their time from the session. But if I had, for example, let me do undo here. And now I'm going to redo it. So let's zoom out. So we can see our audio files here. We can see this file here. I'm going to just let it go ahead and do it again because I still have the same highlight. It should be fine. Let me hit apply. Now those clips are gone too because the tracks are actually showing. So you can use whether the tracks are hidden or displayed to your advantage. I would just make sure if you're testing out your system, you do a save as and kind of just test it out. Make sure that your system is working the same way as mine because there are a bunch of different versions of Pro Tools. There's different settings that you can have active and not active. So I would just be careful. And sometimes, you know, people change stuff like what's here and that can change how it behaves. So I just double check and do a save as beforehand to be sure. But just keep in mind that you can kind of leverage what tracks are being hidden and what tracks are displaying and use that to your advantage if you're trying to correct things here with this type of issue. So yeah, that's basically it. That's what I wanted to show you today. It's the idea that sometimes things import, it's not like they're missing. They might just be later in your timeline. And then when that does happen, you can either move things around or you can use cut time to your advantage. You can do a few different things to kind of figure it out and correct it. So yeah, if there are other ways that you know to correct this, please let us know in the comments below. And if you don't want to deal with some of this technical stuff and you'd rather just work with a professional on your music, I am a full-time music producer. I've been an audio engineer turned music producer for years now. I started working in studios a little over 20 years ago. I am obsessed with it. I love it. I love the technical stuff. That is my jam. I am not a performer primarily or anything like that. This is my thing. So I would love to talk to you about your music. Just go to catonoise.com and hit the get started button. My specialty is indie cinematic pop and alt rock music. And I really love working on beat making and production with people. I love adding lots of lush reverbs and delays and textures and space. I love working with a sense of space and really sculpting that and making that really satisfying. So I would love to talk to you about your music, especially if you're in one of those genres. But even if you're not, feel free to go check out my website. It's catonoise.com. Hit the get started button. It's going to ask you just a few questions about your music. Then it takes you to a calendar page where you can book a call. It's a no obligation call with me in Zoom. And we'll basically just talk about your music and see if we're a good fit for each other, if my help is even what makes sense for you. So please feel free to do that if you feel so inclined. Also, check out my Patreon. It's patreon.com/catonoise. My patrons get access to additional content. We have a Discord server we're hanging out on. We do a book club on the Discord server. We're reading all audio engineering and music production books. It's been so much fun. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I believe you can join the Patreon for as little as $1 a month. So thank you so much to my Patreon patrons. You help keep this channel independent. You help me do stuff like this where I don't have to sell you something within the video. I can just share something that I find useful. And I think that's about it. Other than that, I come out with new videos every Wednesday, and thank you so much for hanging out. Okay. I gotta go do some mixed notes before dinner, and I'm starting to get hungry, so I guess I'll talk to you guys later. I've been growing my collection of squishies. So I had this guy for a while that I think I showed you, but I got this guy at NAMM. I got him at a store next to NAMM near the Anaheim Convention Center. So I've been really enjoying him. He's got like they all have like a different texture to them, which is kind of fun. He's got like he's a little more solid with his squish than this guy. He's a little more watery in the middle, I think. But I don't know. I don't know. If you're into squishies, let me know. I've been getting into squishies. They help me focus when I'm tracking with somebody, to be honest. It like really helps me focus on the actual sound more, to just be like having something to squish. Is that weird? That might be a little weird. Okay, well, I hope you're all doing well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.